What is going on, everyone? Shaking Big 2355 here. It is finally time to start the Oakland Athletics Franchise here at MLB The Show 18, the Operation Sports. Full minor rosters have dropped. And before we even start, I want to give a huge shout out to Riding Down Kingsley and all those people at Operation Sports that work their butts off for the better part of like a week or two when the game first drops to make sure we got them full minor rosters. They are essential to playing this game every year, and they knock it out of the park every year. This year appears to be no different, so huge shout out to them. But this year we are doing the A's. Like I said, it's going to be a unique rebuild, one I've never done, like I've never done on the channel before, because, well, their Major League roster is essentially just bare minimum, not very good. More on that in a second when we get to the team. But we did make a couple signings. You can kind of cheat with these rosters because they do put a lot of international guys in them. But I'm making an attempt to not sign everybody. Try to keep it as realistic as I possibly can. But we did go get a couple guys. One of whom is John Galvis. He's starting pitching prospect, 18 years old. I think he has B potential, I believe. Yes, B potential, 51 overall. He's a lefty. He's from the Netherlands. We did go ahead and sign him. I mean, he's not even really a guarantee that he'll amount to be anything. Just with that B potential and the low overall. Antonio Perez is the other young guy we signed. A potential, 55 overall, 19 years old, from Cuba. Switch hitting first baseman. I did that basically because we have like no first base depth. In the organization, it's pretty bad. But here's an example of like what I'm talking about abusing it. Eddie Aponte, 74 overall, B potential, 20 years old. I could have easily went and signed him, and then bam, we have our center fielder of the future. But that's not very realistic. He wasn't in our organization to begin with, so we're not going to do it. So instead, we went ahead and signed Trace Thompson, Klay Thompson's brother. He was on the Dodgers. Pretty decent raw power. Went ahead and signed him to a 2-year deal worth like $550K a year. Just because I don't trust the center fielder we had on roster, and I think he'll help make the team a little better in the first year, but still being, relatively realistic. And then the fourth one we did sign was Yunel Escobar. We had like no bench depth in terms of infielders. It was pretty bad, pretty bare. So we went ahead and signed him just because like that contact is really good, 81-94. He's a respectable fielder still. He is 35 years old. So we only gave him the 1-year deal. But he's actually going to end up playing a bigger role, as you'll see when we get more into the rosters. But I initially just signed him to be kind of like a backup infielder, or just kind of like an everyday infield utility guy where we can just kind of move him around. If someone needs a day off. Basically, something like that. So, on to the roster now. This is just the tentative opening day roster. In terms of rotation and lineup, nothing set in stone. Things will move. But Andrew Triggs is going to get the opening day start. Mainly because I want to split the lefties between Manaea and Brett Anderson. But make no mistake about it, Sean Manaea is the ace of this staff so far. A potential, 78 overall. He definitely has the highest ceiling of all the pitchers at the major league level. Obviously, AJ Puck is our top prospect. I'll get more into him when I get more into prospects in a later video. But while we're waiting for him, Manaea is definitely the guy. And even once Puck's up, Manaea is still going to be very crucial in this series. Daniel Mangden, B potential, 73 overall. He's only 25 years old. Didn't have a great start to his career last year with the A's, but I think, he has a sick mustache, so we're going to give him another chance. And I think he can actually develop into a pretty decent player. Kendall Graveman, on the other hand, is kind of trending down. He's already 27 years old. Only C potential, never really got going. So he's just kind of there, filling a spot. And then Brett Anderson, 30 years old, lefty. Gives us a second lefty, but he's really just there as a stopgap until we get like Puck or someone else up. Who knows? We might even try to trade him at the deadline. I did put him on the trade block. But, we'll see what happens with him. I don't expect much from him. I mean, if he's really bad, too, I might just end up DFAing him or something like that. On to the bullpen, though. Yusmeiro Petit, 78 potential. He's an older guy, but... 78 overall. B potential. He's an older guy, but he's a reliable arm. Emilio Pagan is who I'm pretty excited about. 26 years old. B potential, 76 overall. Definitely think he can develop into kind of like a setup guy. And then Daniel Colombe. I think I said that right. Santiago Casilla, veteran, 37 years old. Unique situation. Liam Hendricks. He's the beast of the staff. Started him as a mid-reliever, but very likely he might end up the closer. Going to give Blake Treinen a chance to prove his worth. Ryan Bucker. I'm going to say Butcher. And then, like I said, Blake Treinen's going to get a shot at closing, but if he screws up, I think Hendricks will get it. It's definitely a unique bullpen compared to the one we had with the Reds franchise last year, whereas this year we actually have a bullpen. Unfortunately, though, that's pretty much all we have, as we'll get into the lineup now. And same goes for the lineup with the pitching rotation. Just a tentative opening day lineup, nothing set in stone. I'm actually not even very confident with it. Like, I have Chris Davis in the 3-hole. I don't really feel comfortable with that. He's more of a cleanup guy, but we don't really have a traditional 3-hole hitter because this is, like I said, it's not a very dynamic offense. It's a very bare minimum. Don't see a whole lot of upside. We're going to have to flip this. A lot of things we're going to have to redo here. But Jed Lowry, he's on an expiring contract. So, he could be someone that gets traded at the deadline if we're out of contention, like I think we probably will be this first year. But, he is a reliable hitter somewhat. He's just not very, he's not going to lead the team. Steven Piscotty's the same kind of way. They did just sign him to a 6-year deal. So he is locked up. We'll have him for a while. But he's a good player. He's all around balanced. He's not going to hit for power, but... it's cheap. $2.8 million over 6 years. It's pretty good. Chris Davis hit 43 home runs for the A's last year. He is going to be possibly a big part of the team. Could possibly get traded too. We don't really know. I'm not really sure. Really just kind of depends on how he plays. If he's so good that we can't get rid of him. But then at the same time, if he's really good, people might give us something for him. Who knows? Matt Olson is one of the two guys... the corner infielders, A potential, 75 overall. He's a lefty. He's a power guy. Power versus righties is already 96. At only 24 years old. He is one of two guys I look to be the future that we have that I don't really look to replace. So I'm anxious to see him a spot in the cleanup role, see how he does. Trace Thompson, you saw we signed. Got him in the 5-hole. Not too confident about that. I'd like to move Matt Chapman up there, but his contact's kind of low. And, Thompson, I'm not sure if we'll get anything for him at the deadline, but we'll definitely be willing to shop him as well, since he's on that 2-year deal. Then, like I said, Matt Chapman is the other. He's the best player on the team, most likely. 24 years old, A potential. His defense is phenomenal already. He's got decent power, surprisingly raw power. But he's got to get that contact up in his vision and all that still. So he's got a lot of batting things he does need to work on. But he definitely, along with Olsen, should be the future of this ball club. Jonathan Lucroy, just signed him towards the end of free agency, or in spring training. The A's did in real life, so he's on this roster thanks to the Operation Sports guys. And he's just that 1-year, $6.2 million deal. Definitely someone I will try to move at the deadline if we're out of contention. Just because try to get that off the books. Because I don't think we'll re-sign him anyway, so might as well try to get something for him if he's producing. Escobar, I don't see him. We're actually going to be, like I said, we signed him to be kind of like a backup infielder, utility guy. But his contact's too good to not be in the lineup every day. And with a designated hitter, who we had Matt Joyce originally, might as well just let him play shortstop and move Marcus Semien, who is a worse fielder than Escobar. to the DH, so that's where he'll start the year. But, Semien is a respectable player as well, so I want to make sure he stayed in the lineup at least. And he'll get plenty of time in the field, too, as people need days off, and you'll see what I mean as we go, but this is just the opening day lineup, like I said. And like I said, Matt Joyce was the DH, but he's pretty terrible, so I did not hesitate at all to replace him with Escobar. And but he could make for a decent bat off the bench, especially being a lefty. And then Boog Powell was the center fielder originally before we signed Trayce Thompson. But like I said, I don't trust him at all. Bruce Maxwell, backup catcher, could possibly take over as the starting catcher if we deal Lucroy at the deadline. But his numbers aren't that great either. So we could also bring in someone, try to get someone back. I don't know. And then Chad Pinder, he's the backup infielder. He can play everywhere. He can even play outfield. Decent guy off the bench. But again, this is just tentatively to start the season. Obviously, people get hurt. People overperform, underperform. Things change. So that's the introduction episode. Just wanted to go over the roster and, just kind of show you what we're working with. And like I said, I'm bringing back the prospect stuff. It's a new series. I'm repackaging it. It's called the On Deck series. And I'll go over prospects in that. There'll be little mini episodes. Also monthly recaps, just like last year. But we're going to hopefully get a lot further in this thing. At the time of this video, you're probably watching this now. The next episode probably up. I'm going to do 2 today. We're going to do opening day. So look for that on the channel if it's not up already. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think of the franchise. What are your expectations for year 1? Love to hear from you. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. Till next time, peace.